zone left corner. Touchdown!
Breaking down the floor against Bergman, puts it up and scores!
Touchdown, Michigan! Polish off the Heisman!
And listen to this joint go wild.
Michigan State's playing Syracuse at the Palace in Auburn Hills. It's the regional semifinals. And Syracuse has got a big lead at halftime. Morris Peterson isn't taking any shots.
I didn't think we played hard enough. I was mad at myself and my teammates because one thing about it, we compete when we step on that floor, and I don't think we were competing.
I mean, we were down big and we were getting pounded. When I'm walking and I said, you know, do I jump him? Do I hug him? Before I could figure out what I was gonna say, I was still walking. I heard this yelling and screaming coming out of my locker room. And I said, oh God. So I walk in there and Mateen's got Morris up against the wall.
I remember him coming up and just saying, hey, we need you. We need you to knock down some shots. We need you. I'm coming to you. We're gonna find you.
There were a lot of guys on that team that got called out by him. Tom didn't have to say anything. Mateen Cleaves, that was his halftime.
We respected each other and trusted each other, so we felt we had to say something. We didn't hold back.
As a coach, what do you do? So I just matter-of-factly grabbed a chair, sat down. I said, don't let me bother you. You know, you do your thing, it's your team. And we went out there and went on an incredible run.
Charlie Bell made some plays, some big-time plays in that second half. Mo Pete took his game to another level.
And I think I respected him enough to know that he was going to say the right things. And I think our players had enough confidence that if I thought he should be talking. And that's kind of the way I coached that team.
Dreams can come true, because if you don't think that this is the biggest dream, the biggest goal of a small town boy, making what I consider big, you're kidding yourself.
Tom Izzo is the winningest coach in Michigan State history. But when he took over for the legendary Jed Heathcote in 1995, success was anything but guaranteed.
When Tom Izzo took over the program, that was 16 years removed from our championship. He was in a transition period. It was going to take some rebuilding, it was going to take some time and some patience, and not a lot of folks in East Lansing were willing to be patient.
The talk radio was talking more about not if I was going to get fired, but when I was going to get fired, you know.
It's one of those times in life that we all go through where you got to look yourself in the mirror and you got to say to yourself, hey, you know what? This is do or die.
One of the things was we had a big staff meeting. We all got to do more work. Janitors got to let the guys in to shoot at night. The sports information people got to do a better job. And so the plan was that everybody had to do more.
After failing to reach the NCAA Tournament in his first two attempts, Izzo's third season on the Michigan State bench saw the Spartans rally from a 4-3 start to claim his share of the 1998 Big Ten regular season title. And the leadership abilities of their head coach, both on and off the court, became the calling card of the program.
Great mentor, friend, a father figure, a great example. He's taught me a lot about life.
We knew everything about every opponent. We could never say or blame Coach Izzo for not having us prepared. If we didn't win the game, it was our fault because he prepared us that much for those games.
That passion is the eyes, that fire, that determination. You don't hold no punches. If it's something that's wrong, he'll let you know, but when you're right, he'll also be the first one to congratulate you and tell you that you're doing your job.
I still meet coaches 12 years later that come up to me and said they attended a practice and had seen nothing like the war drill that we performed.
The defensive team would have to get inside the free throw line. Other guys would stand outside the three-point line, and the coach would throw the ball up, and these guys get a running start at you. You got to block them out and stop them from getting that ball.
No fouls are called. It's just toughest guy gets the ball, and you go from there.
And I think that's what made it so easy in games for us because, you know, we used to play so hard and practice against each other. You know, the games were easy.
I respected them enough to know if they said they were tired, that means they were tired. If they said that they could go, that means they were going. Those are the things that I thought made this unique relationship as we grew together. We built this thing together.
Michigan State brought an old school level of determination to the game. At a point where the industry was changing, it was becoming more and more about me, and somehow that collection of people checked all that at the door.
Peterson on the back.
The toughest team. That Michigan State team had a lot of will. And it started with Mateen Cleaves and all those Flint guys.
Morris Peterson, Antonio Smith, Mateen Cleaves, Charlie Bell. It was really a perfect fit for those guys to come around at that period of time.
Flint, Michigan, once a hub of the American auto industry. By the mid-1990s, landmarks like Chevy in the Hole and Buick City had vanished. And the once proud city found itself in an economic crisis.
Flint is a tough place. No matter where you're going, people want you to always prove yourself around Flint.
People always say, well, Flint, it's so bad. But I am a Flintstone, and, Flint, it runs through my blood.
We're rooted into Flint. So our personalities and everything came out on the court and how we played.
In high school, playing against Mateen and Antonio and Morris and all those guys, it was definitely a battle. Going to the park, there was always great basketball pickup games there. It's just a basketball city.
One of the things about Michigan State's history is that it was a pioneer in terms of integration and brought a lot of athletes in from the inner city, from the Flint area specifically. So there was a connection, and it was seen as a working man's school.
The first piece of the Flint to East Lansing pipeline was forward Antonio Smith, Michigan's 1995 Mr. Basketball runner-up and fresh off a Class A state championship at Flint Northern.
And so I wanted to go my own route, so I was like, these guys going to Michigan, let me go down the road and try to start something here in Michigan State.
He was the pioneer of everything that we did. We probably would have followed him anywhere because he was getting recruited by every school in the country, but he wanted to stay home.
He was the one that started the toughness, the football team on hardwood kind of reputation we got.
Smith's first order of business, bringing Flint Northwestern's Morris Peterson into the fold.
After he ended up committing, he was saying, you come to state, you come to school. Right when I was about to say it, he was like, no, that's not a question. You are coming to Michigan State.
I have decided to attend Michigan State University.
Coach had a way with my son. I think it was a love-hate relationship. And he was the only one that could really get him under control.
When I got to Michigan State, I was just known as being a scorer. And Coach would always walk around and say, man, I'm gonna find somebody on this campus who you can guard.
Morris spent his first 2 years trying to find the first player he ever guarded. And we used to get on him so hard, and then he broke his hand.
I had to learn how to do a lot of things. I had to really learn how to concentrate just to be out there on the floor.
I said, Morris, the only way I can play you're a good enough athlete if you can guard somebody and you can rebound. I'm telling you, he became a great defender and a great rebounder.
A year behind Antonio Smith and Flint Northern, Mateen Cleaves was the engine behind the Vikings' 1995 title. And like Smith, finished as Mr. Basketball runner-up before joining Michigan State in 1996.
Coach Izzo came to my house when I was 18 years old and told me if I came to Michigan State, we would win the national championship. I thought he was just talking. I thought it was a selling point as far as recruiting.
I want to announce that I'm going to go to the University of Michigan State.
But injury suffered in a crash during a recruiting visit to Michigan in February of Cleaves' senior year left him a different player than the one the Spartans imagined.
People don't understand, when I was younger, how I would play above the rim. Really athletic. And when I was in a car accident, I broke my back and everything. That changed a lot for me.
His quickness was stifling. The world just never really saw, unless you were there to see those high school games and some of those AAU games, never really saw the real Mateen Cleaves.
As a sophomore at Michigan State, Cleaves was Big Ten Player of the Year and earned second-team All-American honors. But more importantly, formed an ironclad bond with his head coach.
At first, I would get mad at Coach Izzo all the time. I didn't understand what he wanted from me. But what Coach Izzo was doing was building this leader in me.
Mateen Cleaves was one of the great self-evaluators of all time. He had higher standards.
There were times where he was like a father to me, where I can just go in his office and we would just talk about life. We would talk about just anything. It wasn't always basketball.
The final member of the Flintstones, Charlie Bell, who finished his career at Southwestern Academy as the area's all-time leading scorer and followed in Cleve's and Smith's footsteps as Mr. Basketball runner-up for 1997.
They always would tell me, you know, hey, you can come in Michigan State, you know, don't think about going somewhere else. You know, you can look, you know, but, you know, we want you with us.
He was a great scorer, but not a great shooter. He might have been the best pound for pound, inch for inch rebounder around. He just had a knack, and he could run like a deer.
After reaching the Sweet 16 in 1998, things came together for the Spartans the following year, winning 22 of 23 to finish out the regular season. Mateen Cleaves repeated as Big Ten Player of the Year and earned first-team All-American honors, while Morris Peterson came off the bench to become the first non-starter in conference history to be named first-team All-Big Ten.
We kind of had everybody now that was playing together a little bit more. They were in the program a couple years, and I think we got beat by Wisconsin the first Big Ten game and then won 15 in a row.
Winning was a mentality at Michigan State. I wanted to beat Mo Pete every day in open gym. We never played together. You got nothing for winning, but just bragging rights.
After sweeping through the Big Ten tournament, defending champion Kentucky stood between the Spartans and their first Final Four since the national title season in 1979.
The Kentucky game, I remember we got off to a bad start. And Antonio got in my face, got in every guy on that team face, and he was mad at us. He didn't think we were putting forth the effort that we needed to get to the Final Four.
I just kept hearing Coach Izzo in the back of my mind, don't let up, don't let up. So we just kept playing defense as hard as we can. And at the end of the day, we shocked the world. Michigan State, now we're on the map.
But the stay of the 1999 Final Four in St. Petersburg was a short one for the Spartans, falling in the semifinals to Duke 68-62.
I didn't think we were going to lose to Duke my junior year. I didn't, even to this day.
That's when I think the tears came about losing that game, because I really wanted to win a national championship for Antonio, because when you talk about work, that's the hardest work I've been around in my life.
Antonio was on his way out the door, and that was his last year and last chance to be with us. And he said, hey, you guys have it. I won't be able to come here with you, but you guys can win the national championship.
It was kind of an emotional time, because I felt like I let them down. I felt like I let our program down. So I just told them whenever they need me, I'll be there.
When Michigan State got back to the hotel, they had a lot to be proud of, until they found out what was going on in East Lansing.
Mateen Cleaves was devastated. He hated losing. He couldn't stand losing. We tell him in the locker room that they're riding in East Lansing right now. And he's just going, what the hell's wrong with these people?
We felt that it was our fault in the sense that, because we lost the game, and if we win that game, those riots don't start. So we kind of made amends that if we ever get back, that we would definitely bring that trophy home.
That was our goal, was to win a national championship, because, you know, we've played against the North Carolinas and the Dukes, and you know what? We're just as good as them. We can win a national championship, too.
After Michigan State fell to Duke in the 1999 Final Four, both Mateen Cleaves and Morris Peterson gave thought to skipping their final season to enter the NBA draft.
I would sit up here in line and say, I didn't think about it. Coach Izzo looked into it more than what I did. I think it'd be better for me just to enter my name in the NBA draft and play basketball in the NBA in June. No, I'm just playing.
Coach Izzo made a promise to us. We made a promise to him that we were going to win a championship, and that was all that was on my mind. I felt like the NBA could wait.
Michigan State returned to the court in October with grand expectations. But before the month was out, the Spartans received a devastating blow.
As soon as the practice started, my foot started aching. And I went to the trainer.
He just couldn't go like he could go, and sure enough, we get an X-ray and he has a stress fracture.
That was a blow. I mean, it felt like I got hit in the chest with a baseball bat. I came back to win a national championship. When I found out my foot was broken, I just went back to the apartment and I just cried. I cried.
I remember we getting the news, we sitting around the table in the film room, and you know, he's telling everybody he had to have surgery. He's just looking like, man, there go our season.
His absence really kind of deterred you from thinking that this team is going to develop into a championship team.
Do we have a program, or do we just have a team? Because if we have a program, ever since I've been in this business, people tell you that, you know, no man or no coach or no player is bigger than the program. So we're going to get a chance to find out if that's true.
The burden of filling Cleve's shoes of point guard fell to David Thomas and Charlie Bell as the Spartans began a daunting non-conference schedule.
You had Texas, North Carolina, Kansas, Arizona, Kentucky, UConn. Those are non-conference games. You'll never see another coach schedule 6 games like that in a non-conference season.
During that time, I grew up a lot as a player because it forced me to become more of a leader, because I relied on him a lot to win the team. But now on the court, we had to have other guys step up.
Mateen was always there on the sideline coaching us, helping us out, even in his cast and walking group.
I think Mateen helped me a lot, but I learned that position is very demanding. Izzo used to ride me just about every day. You know, Mateen would do this, Mateen would say this. I'm like, not Mateen.
You can't let him go baseline. You can't let him go baseline. You got to send him back to the middle towards the help.
When you think about that team and that leadership, it was never exemplified better than when Cleves was in street clothes.
I remember we lost at Kentucky, and Morris didn't take the shot at the end, and Mateen just ripped him for it.
You know, he pulled me over right to the side and said, if you don't shoot that ball, we're going to fight.
My thing was, you the best player on the floor. You take the shot. If you miss it, so what? We rolling with you.
After he said that, I let my shoulders down and said, you know what? I've been putting time in the gym. I've been working. It's time to go.
They went down to North Carolina, and that's when Cleves lost it. He dreamed of playing North Carolina, and here he was on crutches.
The night before, we get in there to practice. My guy Morris Peterson said, you better go check on Mateen. I said, why? And he's down there with his crutches, and he's sitting there staring up on the rafters, and I go over, and tears are streaming down his face.
You see these jerseys hanging, and you know of the tradition of that university, and to not be able to go out and compete with my comrades, that was tough for me. And I mean, I looked up, I saw those jerseys, and tears just came down my face.
He had some words with Peterson, and Peterson said, I got this. He went out there and scored 31 points.
You can see Mateen on the side with his crutches, foot, fresh off surgery, jumping up and down. Here's a guy with a broken foot. He's not even out there on the floor, but he's cheering harder than anybody else.
We played at the end of December at Wright State. He wanted to play. The doctors approved him playing, and the game was a lot closer than it should have been.
Nothing would go our way. And I was like, put me in, coach, just come on. I begged him.
And I just said, I can't do it to him, you know. I love this guy, and I wasn't taking any chances.
I put on his leg probably after every timeout to put me in that game to try to help my team win. And he wouldn't do it, and yeah, that hurt. Man, I remember they beat us and they rushed the floor and everything.
The upset loss left Michigan State at 9-4. And as conference play dawned, so did the return of the Spartans' leader.
I didn't think about the pain. I didn't think about none of that. All I kept thinking about was the national championship.
He was in there for hours and hours in the training room, come out, watch the practice, go back in for hours, and then me and him, we'd play one-on-one.
Matt ain't no bigger than this chair I'm sitting in. And he was trying to beat me, and he would get so mad when I beat him. I should tell him, you should lose. Don't get mad. I should beat you. Expect to lose, but he didn't feel that way.
He was not going to allow anyone to stand in his way of winning a national championship. And if that meant he had to drag you along with him, and you were going to get drugged.
I felt like a kid going in the candy store. It was like, okay, here we go. And I thought about everything I went through up to that point, all the hours I had to put in the swimming pool, all the extra time I had to put in to shooting and everything.
And here's the team coming in. His first trip on the floor for 1999-2000 season.
To see my team walk up to that scores table when we play in Penn State, we got our soldier badge. Our general, our floor leader, a guy who gets us going.
And I said, man, I got to turn this wild horse loose because he was chomping at the bit and just kind of went on and grew. And after taking 3 months off, came back and played remarkably well.
When he came back and started playing with them, that just boosted their confidence, and we just took off and we kicked it in another gear.
We were basically put on the floor to outrun anybody. We pushed the ball up the floor every chance that we got. I still look at our team today when I watch some of the game tape every once in a while, and there's not really any teams that played the way we did or were able to make 2 passes and put the ball in the hole.
Coach said, if we're going to win games, we're going to rebound. And that was our trademark. We're going to beat teams up, we're going to rebound, and we're going to play defense.
It was like going into a beehive. I mean, we were just all over people. I mean, we gave them no room to breathe.
I just came in and played my role, and that was to lead the team. I didn't have to come in and get 30 or 40 points. Mo Peake was doing that. I didn't have to come in and not stop my guy from scoring every time. Charlie Bell was doing that. I didn't have to go in and get 1,000 rebounds. Andre Hudson was doing that. AJ Granger was making plays.
Blending seamlessly into the Spartans' success was Saginaw's high-flying Jason Richardson, Michigan's Mr. Basketball of 1999.
That whole Flintstone going there, those guys really staying at home and playing together with each other. You kind of looked at it like, wow, that's something I want.
Bones. That's what I called him. Bones, because that's all he was. All bones. And when he came, he looked like a skeleton.
I told JR one day, you know, I got to get you more minutes. I mean, he was a superstar, and he says, hey, Coach, I don't deserve more minutes. I haven't learned to guard anybody yet. To be 18 years old and make a statement like that was, like, huge, you know.
Another new face, Mike Chappelle, who redshirted in 1999 after transferring from Duke and fought to regain his shooting form off the bench as a Spartan.
I was struggling with my shot at the time. I guess that's the downfall of being having this stigma of being a shooter.
I can remember that kid being in there late at night, just by himself, just trying to get that stroke back.
Mateen Cleave's return made the Spartan family whole again on the court, winning 8 of the next 9 games. Off the court, Cleave's mother, Frances, was the glue of a tight-knit group of Michigan State parents.
One of Izzo's keys in recruiting, he wanted families to be able to go to the games. And basketball became a family at Michigan State.
The big key with this was Frances Cleaves, Mateen's mother. She was the head matriarch of all the parents.
How can you talk about Michigan State and not talk about Fran Cleaves? She put her arms around me and welcomed me to the family. She introduced me to every team member, every parent. We were just family.
Miss Cleave, oh, that was my friend. That was like my left hand. When the right do wrong, she was the left.
She was really instrumental in making it a family atmosphere outside of the court. If one person didn't have enough money, they found a way to help out each other, to get to certain trips and everything.
People joked around about the hugging line after games. I mean, every single family member that was there got a hug from the players.
I remember my first game with that. We got beat by somebody early, and I came out of that locker room, and I wasn't very happy. I was going to my press conference, and all of a sudden I heard, hey, Coach. And I turned around, and it was Frances Cleave standing there. She goes, don't you ever walk by me without giving me a hug. I don't care if you won or lost. She probably taught our program almost as much as a lot of our players.
We got 50 hugs coming out the locker room. I mean, so much love.
There was no, oh, my son didn't start and yours did, or he made that one a shot. We just wanted them all to be successful. They were like all of our children.
On March 4th, 2000, the Spartan parents joined their sons on the floor for Senior Day, where Michigan State needed a win over the Wolverines for a share of their 3rd straight conference title.
I was a big crybaby that day. I cried at the team breakfast because that was my last one. Before the game, cried.
No one's going to forget that game. That game was over a half an hour before the opening tip. Michigan was that badly outclassed.
You know, Michigan is no love there. They don't like us, and we don't like them. Every guy I passed to made a shot that day. Charlie Bell sticks out to me in particular.
I said, hey, man, you want to assist, man? Throw me the ball, because I'm on fire right now. And he said, all right, you know, I got you. It was just one of those nights, you know, it's like you wish the night never ended.
That was 114 to 63, 51-point victory. Martin Cleaves set a Big Ten record with 20 assists in that game.
It was a pretty emotional, memorable moment, to be honest with you. And watching the team walk off that court and kiss the ass like Sean Respert had done now is a tradition that still stands. It was the moment of all moments.
I can promise you, I didn't coach this team this year. He did.
After winning a share of their third straight Big Ten regular season title, Michigan State cruised through the Big Ten tournament and earned the #1 seed in the Midwest region.
We were trying to fine-tune ourselves to make that national championship run. We went at it in the Big Ten tournament. We played those games like they were NCAA tournament games.
With the eyes of the nation on the NCAA tournament, the spotlight shined brightly on the hometown of the Spartan leaders and their animated nickname.
Everybody had the Flintstone T-shirts. I don't know, whoever did that probably made a lot of money at that time because everybody had a Flintstone T-shirt, and it was fun.
Here they were on a national stage, playing basketball and representing that city and showing America that this is the type of caliber basketball player or even athlete that this small town in Michigan can produce.
Opening the NCAA tournament in Cleveland, the Spartans thrashed Valparaiso, then broke open a tight game with Utah midway through the second half to advance to the Sweet 16.
They're like a Big Ten team. They played hard. It was tough on the defensive end.
Next stop, the Midwest Regionals at the Palace of Auburn Hills. After scoring the last 17 points of the game to take down Syracuse, the final obstacle to a return trip to the Final Four were the second-seeded Cyclones of Iowa State.
Andre Hudson, the most underrated Spartan ever. Marcus Pfizer was an All-American, one of the best players in the country, and Andre Hudson wanted that.
All the guys told me that, you know, I was going to be the factor. From the team to Pete to AJ, you know, they all looked at me and said, look, this is their guy. You know, you got to do something about it.
Hudson outscored and out-rebounded Pfizer, but the Spartans still trailed by 7 with less than 6 minutes to go. Michigan State rallied to lead by 1 late and looked to their senior leaders with the game in the balance.
I remember us coming out of timeout and coach was about to drop a play, and I just looked, I said, Coach, let's run a backdoor play.
I said, are you crazy? You know, we're not going to do that with 2 minutes left to go in the game. You know, we're not going to take a chance play. I said, Mateen's so geeked right now, he'll probably throw it into the tuba player, you know. Mateen goes, no, Coach, he's right. It'll work, you know.
I remember walking back on the floor. I said, you better catch this pass. And he said, just throw it. And I threw it kind of high. Well, Pete saved.
It just felt like somebody kind of boosted me up because that was kind of almost the highest I ever jumped.
The Spartans won 75-64, but a Final Four celebration was quickly subdued.
You know, after the game, we were celebrating, and everybody was excited, and I'm jumping up and down. I'm in the locker room.
After the game, he was so happy. I've never seen him so happy. And I had to tell him that my mom had passed. And I saw him go from elated to defeated.
My grandma, she was out there with me. She was my biggest fan. She told me that I was going to be in the NBA, that we were going to win the championship, and everything was going to be okay. And that stuck with me.
It was another time when you realize how important team and teammates are. They really embraced him, and then the battle cry was, we're going to win it for his grandmother.
The Spartans were on to Indy and a familiar foe. For the 4th time in 7 weeks, Michigan State would endure the deliberate pace of the Wisconsin Badgers, with a berth in the national championship on the line.
I did not want to play Wisconsin, man. for the 4th time, I mean, it's hard to beat someone 2 times. Let alone 3, then you gotta beat somebody 4 times.
If you watch Wisconsin, it's just ugly. You know when the game begins, it's gonna be ugly, it's gonna be low scoring, and you just have to keep focused.
I always said if you played Wisconsin at that time, if you won easy, you won by 3. If it was a blowout, you won by 4.
We didn't even have to go over a scout report because I think we knew their stuff probably just as good as, or even better than they knew their own stuff, and they probably felt the same about us.
The first half was as advertised, with the Spartans going to the locker room up 19-17. In the second half, Morris Peterson, 2 days removed from burying his grandmother in Mississippi, scored 16 of his game-high 20 points to send the Spartans to the championship game.
I was upset that my grandmother couldn't be there with me, and I just remember going on the court saying I want to make her proud. I told my team to give me the ball.
Mo Pete locked and loaded, started knocking down some shots, made some plays, and we were able to get by Wisconsin.
That game was really sort of indicative of the mindset this team had on defense. You don't give up on any play, and you do everything possible to shut them down.
We had already been there last year, not the national championship game, but we're in the Final Four, so we're here now. And there's no way in the world that we're going to leave this floor without winning this game.
Seeking their first national title in over 20 years, Michigan State's most famous alum delivered another assist.
I would talk to him a lot, and the main thing Magic would always tell me was lead the team and have fun.
His role was to provide that bridge from 79 to the present. I'm giving the keys to the car now to Mateen Cleaves and this next generation of Michigan State basketball.
Urban respects Mateen for the role he played in bringing Michigan State back to national prominence, winning a championship, and we all feel like family.
Better than 20 minutes before we were supposed to get on the bus, I walk out, and all 15 of them are standing on the rail with their bags, and then they said to me, OG, we're ready to go. I knew then we were winning a game. It was over. It was over when we left the hotel. It was over. Because those guys never do that.
Awaiting Michigan State in the championship game, the youthful, high-energy Florida Gators.
A lot of the national writers were saying, this is going to be a joke. This is going to be fast-paced Florida up and down the court, and here's methodical Michigan State. Couldn't have been further from the truth.
That's the beauty about Coach Izzo. He has 100 sets for any given situation. And to be honest, we love playing against pressing teams.
We took it personal for people to say, can we run with Florida? I don't know if people really watched us play that year, but that's what we wanted to do.
Our press breaker was traditionally have Mateen take the ball out, and we decided to get it to him in the open court on the second pass, and we had such a good guy in Andre Hudson who could pass the ball, and then we broke Mateen through, and we cut it up pretty good early in the game.
There was no nervousness there to play in a national championship game, and that's odd to say to the person that's watching from the outside, but when you get into that type of environment, it just becomes second nature due to all the preparation that you put into that point.
AJ was pushed really hard that season. To see him come out and play the way he played, I think 19 points, something like that in the final game, we all felt great for him.
Michigan State led by 11 at the half and was up 6 with just over 16 minutes to go when adversity struck the Spartans once again.
They were playing together, and they were playing well defensively. They had a plan. You just got the sense that, you know, barring something just catastrophic, that they would win this basketball game.
He hurt himself, Jimmy. He really hurt himself. And he's dragging himself to the bench.
He got hurt right on the baseline, right where I was at. I saw his ankle roll.
When he went down, he was crawling right towards us, and that's where, looked me dead in the eye and he yelled out, "It's broke."
My ankle was taped, and the tape popped. So I thought it was broke. And I was just like, oh my God, not now. So I laid there. That felt like eternity, laying on the floor, talking to the doctors and the trainer.
I walked over and he said, "Coach, I think it's broke." And my comment was, I don't really care if it's broke, Mateen. We got 16 minutes to go. Because this was his dream. This was his goal. And I said, man, you got to play.
it was a big blow. You know, when he went down, it's like all our dreams probably of winning the national championship went out the window a little bit. We like, oh man, maybe this isn't meant to be.
We brought each other together. We were like, hey, we don't know if we're gonna get my team back. We gotta play. We looked at each other in the eyes and said, this is who we have on the court.
Everybody that's watching from the outside looks at that situation and says, oh no, what's going to happen? And we just looked at each other and said, we've been through this before. Let's go get it done.
Mike Chappelle replaced Cleaves, and what had been a lost season for the Duke transfer was redeemed in 2 shots.
Chappelle, top of the key, 3. They answer right away with it. There's a huge shot.
It was just that moment. Like, there was nothing else going on. You're not worried about if I'm gonna miss this shot, or you're not worried about the crowd, you're not worried about the time, the situation. It's just staying in that moment.
Mike Chappelle hit a big shot. He followed one of my missed layups. He got 5 quick points. That just sparked us, and we just kept on riding off that wave.
Next thing you know, you're like, one of those things, you hear the crowd starting to pick up, and you're like, what's going on?
Our trainer, he was like, can you run without any pain? And, oh man, it was so painful. I was running in the locker room, but I act like it didn't hurt. I was like, I'm okay. And I was just doing anything to try to get back on that floor.
Muhammad Ali has been in the building at this Final Four, and this is a moment that he could certainly relate to.
I looked over and see him walking out the locker room limping. It kind of gave me goosebumps. You know, it kind of gave me chills.
I heard him, and I felt him. I felt like a prize fighter, you know, going to the ring for a heavyweight boxing match. And I was excited to get back on that floor.
He says, I'm ready if you want me to go in. I said, are you ready to go in? He said, yeah. I said, get in. It was just such a fitting way to end with my star who got hurt at the beginning of the year, got hurt at the end of the year, and yet wasn't gonna let that stop him from the moment.
Every play, I was gathering my teammates together and said, now you guys know you gotta cover me because I can't move. And they never really came at me.
Inspired by Cleaves' return, Morris Peterson held off the Gators, scoring 12 points in just under 2.5 minutes. And soon the lead ballooned to 20.
Kept staring at the clock, 3-minute mark or 2-minute mark. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. And I was like, just waiting, like, 0, 0, 0.
I didn't know whether to break dance, whether to try to do a backflip. I didn't know what to do. And it was like, it just came to me. And it was nothing planned or nothing like that. It just happened. It was a natural feeling.
And you can leave it to Cleaves. And he's running out onto the floor.
I wasn't able to stand up after the buzzer rang. I remember a feeling of exhaustion. It's like everything that you'd prepared for all your life, really, had come to a head.
When that horn sounded, and my team and I just ran to each other. We're jumping up and down and huddling. It's just an experience that I won't ever forget.
My favorite song to this day is One Shining Moment. As a kid, when you're watching the Final Fours, that's your dream, to be that one shining moment.
That's all my team talked about, winning championships and hearing one shining moment. And then all of a sudden, it was him and I looking up at that screen.
And they started playing it. I mean, the tears just started balling down my face. Good tears. The feeling is hard to explain. I felt like I was floating.
You recruited a kid. You guaranteed him that even though the Fab Five was so good and all this stuff, you guaranteed him you'd play that tough schedule, you'd be on national TV. We can get to a Final Four. It was such a big dream. And then to sit there for a minute and watch the dream unravel and unfold right in front of your eyes, and you got to live your dream, that is a moment that I hope everybody that's alive gets to do in whatever is their passion.
What's up? They said we couldn't do it, but we right here. It's national champions. That's all I gotta say.
It couldn't be done. They said it couldn't be done.
Championship in hand, the Spartans bask in the spoils of victory.
It was amazing. The most single amazing thing that happened in my career, any level of basketball. I can remember going in the back in the locker room, and me and Matt Ishbia pouring water on each other like it's champagne. We was too young to have it in our locker room, so it was water.
It was one of the greatest moments of my life, to be able to share that with your best friends, guys you've been in the bunker with, guys you grew up with.
East Lansing was nuts. We got a hero's welcome when we came home. It's like we were the Beatles or something.
The parade was unbelievable. I think, all of East Lansing was there. And the energy and excitement about that parade was pretty special, too.
To meet the President of the United States was huge. Even coming back to Flint, and getting the keys to the city here because the Flint boys, brought that national championship home, and, it was just, it was a great feeling.
The legacy of the 2000 Spartans endures, honoring Mateen Cleave's mother, Frances, who passed away after a 2007 swimming pool accident.
We spent time with her in the hospital. She was in a coma for a long time, and we just talked one day, and we said, what about, naming that area where the parents can go after the game and sit and wait for their sons to come out of the locker room, and the girlfriends and the aunts and uncles and grandmoms, and let's try to build a room.
And that's not because of what I did at Michigan State. She got that room for what she did. That's, throw out anything I did on the basketball floor. She got that room because the person she was, and that means more to me than anything.
To this day, it's still spots that's missing of her, but I enjoy the good moments of it. That's what we're about. We live and we die, but we always leave something good, and she did leave a good mark. She will always be missed, but she's gone home, and we just got to do like her, leave something for our children to take on. She left a legacy for them to carry on. Not only them, but us too. So that's, that's what we're about.
Well, one thing that sticks out was this picture that I have of my mom and Miss Cleaves at the parade on the float. That's their championship. That's all our championship. They were just as much out there on the court as we were. And I always look at that picture and think about that because those were some great times for us.
Michigan State basketball is still more about family than anything else, in that Izzo wants to have a program where the past players are constantly coming back to be a part of this.
A couple years ago, Mateen got inducted into the Hall of Fame here. Jason Richardson flies in for Morris Peterson flies in for Andre and Charlie and DT and Steve Cherry and Matt Ishbia, the last guy on my bench. They were all there for him.
Jason Richardson had a function. 5 or 6 of us were all there to support him, including Coach Izzo, on the great things he's doing for the community of Saginaw.
Coaches get credit for molding young men. What you don't understand is I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the young men. So the young men deserve the credit, that they're the ones that they do.
When we see each other, it's like we never left. We never went our separate paths after the championship because it just felt like we was always riding along with each other.
When you talk about the national championship team 2000, it wasn't about one player on that team. It was about us as a unit. And that's how we want to be remembered as just a family that went out there and competed every time they stepped on the floor.
Irvin, when he spoke to the guys, he said, you won't appreciate it tonight. As the years get longer, the appreciation of what you did gets bigger. And you know what? He's right. It happened just like he said it would. In fact, this group is so special, I'm gonna have a reunion every year for them just so that I can get back and hear the stories. I think it was Ohio State, and the first time all year we got out-rebounded. And I was sitting there, and out of the clear blue, I said to my equipment man, I said, hey, call Saban up. And I want 10 sets of shoulder pads, pants, pads, helmets, the whole 9 yards. That moment, we played our war game.
We got to practice that next day, and we walked in that gym and saw shoulder pads and helmets. He would do some crazy things, but this was crazy. It was a little over the top.